Did you know this train is older than most people riding it? And yet, it's still running across Sweden every single day. But that's not even the most interesting part. Hidden on the side is a unique number that identifies this exact coach. I'll come back to that in a second. First, why is a train built in the 1980s still carrying passengers today? This is one of SJ's legendary B7 coaches. The first entered service in 1979, and they became the backbone of Sweden's locomotive-hauled intercity trains. More than 170 were built, and many are still in service today. These coaches were engineered to last. They're 26.4 meters long, have 78 seats, and are designed to travel at speeds of up to 160 kilometers per hour. Over more than 4 decades, this single coach has almost certainly traveled millions of kilometers. Now, about that number, every passenger coach has its own unique vehicle number. Think of it like a license plate that uniquely identifies this coach within the fleet. But here's my favorite part. When this coach left the factory, it didn't look anything like it does today. It wore SJ's iconic brown and orange intercity colors before later being repainted blue, and eventually receiving today's black livery as part of SJ's modernization program. So the next time you board a train, take a look at the numbers on the side. You might be stepping into a piece of Swedish railway history that's been carrying passengers for over 40 years. This is not for the poor. This is the Arlanda Express, Sweden's premium airport train. It takes you from central Stockholm to Arlanda Airport in just 18 minutes. No traffic, no delays, no unnecessary stops. Is it expensive? Absolutely. But if your time is worth more than the ticket price, this is the fastest ride to the airport. Did you know this train literally leans into corners? It's called the X2000, and while traveling at speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour, it tilts into curves instead of staying upright. But here's the weird part. Why would a train need to lean at all? Because Sweden has a lot of winding railway lines that weren't originally built for high-speed trains. So instead of spending billions building completely new tracks, engineers came up with a different solution. They made the train adapt to the railway. And that's where things get interesting. The X2000 uses sensors and hydraulic systems to detect curves and tilt the train before passengers fully feel the sideways force. But if it's leaning that much, shouldn't people be sliding out of their seats? Surprisingly, no. The whole point of the tilt is to make the ride feel smoother, even while the train is taking curves faster than a conventional train could. And that allowed the X2000 to dramatically reduce travel times across Sweden. But here's the question nobody expects. The X2000 first entered service in 1990. That's over 30 years ago. So why are people still riding them today? Because the design worked so well that SJ decided to modernize many of the trains instead of replacing them. New interiors, new technology, better Wi-Fi. Yet underneath, it's still the same tilting train concept that changed Swedish rail travel decades ago. And next time you see an X2000 leaning into a curve, remember, it's not just turning. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, cheating the railway. Wait, SJ is spending almost 350 million kronor modernizing these trains. But after all that money, they are leaving out one surprisingly basic thing. And that is only the first strange part of this story. This is the SJX40, Sweden's double-decker train. These trains first entered service over 20 years ago, and now SJ is giving all 27 three-car X40 as a major refurbishment. They are getting more comfortable seats, additional legroom, better mobile coverage, renovated toilets, improved lighting, more power outlets, and even spaces for bicycles. SJ says the upgrade should help keep these trains running for many more years. So, what is missing? Before I tell you, look at where this train can actually take you. The modernized X40 is intended for routes including Linköping, Stockholm, Gävle, and Ljusdal, as well as the much longer journey from Stockholm through Västerås and Örebro to Gothenburg. That means you could spend several hours on board, traveling across a huge part of Sweden. And yet, After an investment of nearly 350 million kroner, you still will not be able to buy a cup of coffee on board. The X40 actually had vending machines during its early years. They were eventually removed, and SJ has decided not to bring them back during this refurbishment. SJ says it understands why passengers want coffee, but has not found a solution it is satisfied with. This is the Hippo. Big, grey, and unpredictable. That's what railway staff nicknamed SJ's X40 double-decker after years of technical problems and passenger complaints. 20 years later, the Hippo is still roaming Sweden's rails. Did you know Mälartåg has a magic trick? It can be late and still be officially on time. Wait, I'll explain. Mälartåg runs these big modern double-decker trains with Wi-Fi, power outlets, bike space, and room for 357 seated passengers. They can even reach 200 kilometers per hour. So you think, amazing. Fast train, modern train, reliable train, and then comes the twist. In 2025, Mälartåg reported 87% punctuality, which sounds great, until you learn what punctual means. A train can arrive up to 5 minutes and 59 seconds late and still count as on time. So when Mälartåg says, "We're punctual," they mean, relax. Time is a social construct. And when they're not on time, the reasons include trees on the tracks, wildlife collisions, and infrastructure failures. So yes, Mälartåg is basically always on time, just not always in the timeline you're standing in. Wait, Sweden's X74 has a tiny secret. There are only 6 of them. Built by Swiss Stadler for Sweden's cold climate, this train can still hit 200 kilometers per hour. And here's the twist. It does not tilt in curves, which VR says can help people who get motion sick. So when one rolls between Stockholm and Gothenburg, you're seeing one of Sweden's rare, quiet rockets. I finally figured out Mälartågets secret. I thought the delays were random. Nope, they're actually training you to stop checking the clock, because after 20 minutes, you're eligible for delay compensation on many trips. So technically, waiting is part of the loyalty program, and that's the secret. Did you know that taking the Arlanda Express might be the worst travel decision you'll make in Stockholm? Because once you take it, there's a good chance you'll want to keep taking trains. What starts as an 18-minute ride from Arlanda to Stockholm Central can quickly turn into Stockholm to Copenhagen, Copenhagen to Hamburg, Hamburg to Amsterdam. Before you know it, you're planning an interrail trip across Europe. Maybe the Arlanda Express isn't an airport train at all. Maybe it's Europe's most expensive gateway drug to train travel. Click the link in bio to start planning your next interrail trip.